Hello. How are you guys? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Welcome to Scary Stories Saturday, where we will just kind of sit here and we'll talk about some scary stories. I love horror, anything horror. I am obsessed with Michael Myers. He is my favorite serial killer in the movies. My family is into horror. I mean, everything in my house is horror and I absolutely love it. Have you ever had a paranormal experience? I want to make sure that I'm not alone. We have seen a lot of paranormal things. We've had a lot of things happen in our house and where we grew up, when we were kids. The house that my grandparents owned, there were some spirits in the closet of my grandmother's room. And I remember as a kid sitting in her bed just because we wanted to know, my cousins and I, we would sit in the bed at night and just wait until we felt something sit down. And I remember the first time we felt it, somebody sat on the edge of the bed and we all freaked out. So we had no idea what to do at that point. My brother and I mean, we fell in love with horror at a very young age. As we got older, we just continued to have experiences with spirits and voices and lights flickering and doors opening and that kind of stuff. When my grandfather was still alive, he was still living in the old house where we grew up. He was having a heart attack, and the thing that woke him up and saved him was the back door flew open, and I guess the cold air woke him up. And so my grandmother said no one opened the back door. They always kept it locked. So that is what woke him up, and they were able to get him to a hospital. And so let me tell you guys about the story of the haunting at my uncle's house when I was in 8th grade. So my uncle, he is a police officer for the city of Chicago. My brother and I stayed there with him during the week because we went to a Catholic school and you had to be within the district of the school. My brother was playing basketball at the time. My uncle was picking up my brother from basketball. I was down in the basement and he had 2 dogs. They were Shih Tzus. Here I am, this 13-year-old kid, doing my homework with my headphones on, and I started to hear the dogs growling. And now nobody's home. All the lights are off. It was probably 7, 8 o'clock at night and it was super dark out, right? So I hear the dogs growling and I'm like, why are the dogs growling? So I was afraid to get up and see what it was, right? So here I am, trying to be brave. I get up and I go to check it out and look at the dogs. So I open the door and they were just standing there staring at me. And so I picked them up and I sat on the bed because now I'm kind of freaked out because I'm hearing this weird stuff. And I thought, well, nobody could be in the house, right? Because I'm home alone, the doors are locked, who would bother a police officer's house, right? And I started to hear footsteps and I'm like, crap, somebody's in the house. Do they know I'm down here? Because I was being really quiet, I'm sitting on the bed oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody's walking upstairs. Oh my God. And then the drawers in the kitchen started opening and it sounded like they were rustling around in the silverware. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm down here. I wanted to jump out the basement window because my friend lived next door, right? So, but I was frozen. I was so scared. I was so afraid to get up, check, but just go out the window. Cause I was like, I'm just going to run next door and see what happens, right? Let them know that there's somebody in the house with me. I'm hearing people walking up the stairs. I'm hearing something on the carpet to where it's cutting. This cutting sound on the carpet. And I'm like, why are people cutting the carpet? But I mean, at this point, you never know, right? You never know. So I'm freaking out inside. All the lights are off. The water's turning on in the upstairs bathroom. In my aunt and uncle's room, the jewelry, I can hear the drawers opening. And so all of a sudden, the doorbell rings. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to answer this? There's somebody here. What if they see me? So I run up the stairs, right? Turn the lights on, fling the door open, and my mom is standing right there. So now I'm hysterical, right? Mom. oh my God, there's somebody in the house. So now everybody decided they were coming home. So here comes my uncle and my brother. Here comes my aunt. And I'm like, where have you all been? So I'm telling my uncle, and mind you, he's a police officer. I'm like, there's somebody in the house. Like, I'm hearing all of this stuff and it's freaking crazy. Like, you need to check it out. Like, there's somebody there. And I told him about the dogs and how I was hearing all these footsteps and stuff. So, you know, being a man and being a police officer, he's like, hold on, let me go check, right? So he goes in the house and he takes a few minutes, and I'm like panicking because I'm like, oh my God, what if they got him? What if he found something? Like, what will we do, right? So he comes back out and he's like, Mija, there's nobody here. And he's like, nothing's missing. You know, everything is still here. Nothing's wrong. You know, nothing's wrong. And I'm like, no, I swear to you, something is happening. Like, I was hearing people walk up the stairs and I was hearing people touching the silverware. And I mean, he probably thought I was nuts, right? So I wanted to go home right then and there. I was like, nope, not staying here. I think my mom was dropping something off at the time. And so I'm like, nope, I'm not staying here. No, I'm not doing it. I want to go home. And so my mom's like, you can't go home right now. You still got to go to school. And I'm like, I'm not staying in this freaking creepy house. So we wind up having to stay. I didn't experience anything after that. Christmas time, that they had this Santa Claus that was snoring, but they never plugged it in because she didn't want it going off all the time, right? So she had it unplugged. There was no batteries, nothing like that, right? So she thinks it's my uncle. So she's like, shut up, you know, stop snoring. You're too loud. So he wakes up and he's like, what? And she's like, stop snoring. So then they both hear the snoring. And she's like, okay, well, now I got to go check it out because what's going on here, right? She goes downstairs. The Santa Claus isn't even plugged in. So she's hearing the snoring from the Santa Claus that's not plugged in, has no batteries or anything like that. So I guess what they did was they asked around, I guess the neighborhood to see if anybody else had any problems or anything like that, any issues with strange happenings. So it turns out that the neighborhood was haunted. They don't live at that house anymore. They lived there for a little while. They didn't really say anything about having any other experiences or anything like that. I don't remember that part, but I do remember them saying that the neighborhood was haunted. And I was like, I told you guys that was happening. No one listens to me. No one ever listens to me. The light just went out. I always feel like somebody's watching me. Sorry. So I always feel like somebody's watching me all the freaking time. And a lot of the times I'm wonder if it's my grandfather or either one of them. Stuff happens to me all the time. So I'm wondering if that happens to you guys. Like, do any of you see things or hear things or have visions or anything like that? Like, that is what I want to know. I want people's stories so that I can get them out there so that everybody knows that they're not alone. Like, that's why I wanted to start doing a YouTube channel and kind of go from there. What I am going to do is on Saturdays, I will upload a video to my YouTube and then we'll talk about scary things. Today was my first video. I promised everyone that I would do my first video this Saturday, so here we are. So if you have any stories and you want to share them with me, please message me. I appreciate all of you guys for coming and hanging out with me and listening to my craziness. Hopefully you guys enjoy it and have fun with me and hang out and look. You guys have a good night. Happy Saturday. Hopefully the rest of your weekend goes great. Make sure that you all stay safe. Please, out there is craziness. So I will talk to you all later. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys. Mwah.